In the late 80s and the early 90s, drama around monster truck racing was just as much a selling point as the actual racing was itself. And in this video, I'm gonna go over the top best examples of how drama is what helped build monster truck racing to what it is today. Let's go! Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger is considered to be one of the founding fathers and probably one of the most legendary drivers in the history of monster trucks. And on one particular night in 1989, Dennis Anderson would find a way to win an event after losing half of his races. He went 2-2 on the whole entire night, but due to people's trucks breaking, which is something in the 80s that Dennis Anderson had a really big problem with keeping his truck running, on this particular night, Dennis Anderson found a way to keep his truck running and go on to win the entire event. In the first race, Gravedigger would go up against John Breen and Wildhair, and Wildhair beat Gravedigger convincingly, but due to the fact that Wildhair ended up breaking his truck, Gravedigger would get a second berth as a fast loser and go into the next round where he would face another Breen in Mad Dog. Now, Dennis Anderson would actually end up beating Mad Dog.
Well, Dennis, you get back into this thing because of a technicality, but you're going just as hard as you should be here. Really, you shouldn't even be in the program, but you're advancing into the next round.
Yeah, we had a few problems from breakage, so I was brought back. I was sitting back in the pit, piddling along on my truck, had my driver's suit off. All of a sudden, they bust back in there and say, "Get your equipment on, we're ready to race." So I pulled it to the line, and I'm back in here. Needs to be my night.
Then Dennis Anderson would go on to face Rod Litz out in USA1, and USA1 eked out a win against Gravedigger, but due to the fact that transmission fluid had begun pouring out of the bottom of USA1, that gave Dennis Anderson another pass to go forward into the finals. At this point, Dennis Anderson has lost twice and won once, and is now somehow in the finals. One of the few times this has ever happened in monster truck racing.
Talk about drama. He just ran over here and said he's losing his way to the final. That's not exactly the case, but when you go to the final, any way you can get there, it counts, and that's exactly where you are right now.
Equipment problems, mechanical problems have knocked out the Gravedigger, but tonight it has been his ability to keep that truck together that has got him in the final against Dave Whiteshorek in Nightlife.
So the stage was set. It was Nightlife 2 versus Dennis Anderson, and of course, Dennis Anderson was able to eke out a victory against Dave Whitehorek's Nightlife 2, making him the event winner of the night. And honestly making for one of the most interesting nights in monster truck history. Oh, by the way, that little guy you see right there went on to become a monster truck driver himself. So in the 1980s and the 1990s, trucks ran on what were called leafer springs. These were basically real pickup trucks that they were just hoisting up onto a frame, separating them between these springs that would give the truck some bounce to it. But the problem was, as these trucks were getting faster, these leafer springs just were not doing the job. These trucks were jumping higher and further and going a lot faster, and these leafer springs were causing these trucks to almost bounce like a trampoline, causing drivers a lot of problems when it came to handling. So in 1989, Bob Chandler, seeing this issue, decided to step away from racing in the USHRA for a year and went back to the drawing board to design Bigfoot 8, which was a revolutionary tube frame truck, and it changed the sport forever. However, the drivers that were still running the leaf springs realized that this was kind of messed up and had a huge problem with the fact that Bob Chandler took off for a year to go redesign a truck and then came back and just absolutely started annihilating people. This led to a lot of trauma and in fact actually got Bigfoot 8 banned from competition for a few months so that other drivers could go back and then redesign their trucks to have something that would be competitive with Bigfoot 8. And drivers had no problem voicing their concerns about the Bigfoot 8 truck, which of course led to some beautiful drama.
Is there anything anybody can do to beat that blue Ford?
That's going to be a Bigfoot year, Army.
You really think it will? I mean, this is just the first time everybody's been together. You're conceding?
Yeah, the year's over as far as the champion. That truck's brand new, and he's dominating by a second. You know, there's nothing, because everybody else, you know, we're out here racing every weekend, and we're not going to be able to get our truck together, you know, to build a new truck this year. So as far as I'm concerned, I think it's over with unless they crash the truck. Next round, we got Bigfoot. You know, I really don't care a whole lot for that new truck. I don't think he should be here, and he's running a little quicker.
The drivers who did campaign last year are not too happy that Bigfoot gets to race after having all of that time to regroup.
Well, it's sort of mixed feelings. Last year he wouldn't come out and play with us, and this year he's coming out and picking on us. And so he took a year off to, you know, to sort of regroup and build a new truck, and that's all he's doing is coming out and picking on us this year.
Bigfoot obviously has a definite advantage over any of us. He's had a lot of time to get his stuff together and come back out with a new truck. And I don't know, I guess I compare my truck. My truck's a couple years old, and it's really out of his league, you know. So I don't know, all I can do is the best I can to beat him.
I don't think the design of the truck is a problem, but they should have been out running with us that in 1989. But I don't know. What do you do about it? That's the politics.
Well, I don't like it right now because Bigfoot's dominating, you know, but I don't know, you know, if I could do the same thing, I'd probably do it too, but I don't think the suspension that he's running is fair to be running with leaf spring trucks, and the reason I say that right now is because I can't afford his suspension that he's running.
So during the 1990 season, Bigfoot was banned for 2 months, but since Bigfoot was in the top 2 for the points race, the USHRA let Bigfoot come back with Bigfoot 4, which was always personally my favorite Bigfoot truck. This obviously pissed off the Bigfoot team, which wanted to prove that, hey, we could still beat you with Bigfoot 4, which led to its own drama.
If 4 pulls a 39 out here, what do you think that Bigfoot 8 would do to this track?
Well, it's hard to say, you know. I know 8 would do a little bit better job than what 4 would, you know. And plus, probably John might do a little bit better than me, because right now, this is my first time in 4 trying to get back used to the truck. So maybe as night gets better, I'll get better with the truck, too.
Chris is caught up with Bigfoot founder Bob Chandler, who doesn't like the idea of Bigfoot 4 having to race these trucks. He's not a happy man about Bigfoot 8's banishment, but he's got to be happy that Bigfoot 4 is keeping him in the points race.
Bob, you've got to feel a little bit vindicated. You didn't want Bigfoot 4 out here running, and you're winning.
Well, Bigfoot 4 is a 7-year-old truck. We've done a lot of updating on it. In fact, we're running 2 nitrogen shocks on the back. We are running leaf springs, but it still is not what I call a stage 3 monster truck. It shouldn't be running out here this fast. It is doing a good job, and I thank the driver and everybody else. It is good, but it's still not the right truck for this job.
What's your secret to your success tonight?
Good people. I got good drivers. I got good shop people. We spend a lot of money maintaining our trucks and having preventive maintenance. Just trying hard.
Good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Bigfoot 4 did exactly for Team Bigfoot what they needed him to do, and that's to stay competitive in the TNT Points Challenge long enough for Bigfoot 8 to return and win the whole thing, which Bigfoot 8 did eventually win the 1990 TNT Points Championship, and this was the first time that Bigfoot would get a championship, but it wouldn't be their last. A lot of people consider Bigfoot 4 to be one of the greatest monster trucks of all time because it was able to step up and help keep Team Bigfoot competitive long enough for Bigfoot 8 to return and win the championship. Who says you can't teach an old dog new tricks? In 1989, a new truck by the name of Equalizer stormed the TNT circuit, winning race after race and eventually won the 1989 Points Championship. In 1990, Equalizer owner Gary Cook with driver David Morris were looking to repeat the same success they had in 1989 in 1990. However, in the first quarter of the 1990 season, David Morris just up and left Gary Cook's Equalizer team, leading to the Equalizer owner to bring in 19-year-old Greg Holbrook, who would be referred to as the Kid due to Greg Holbrook being only 19 years old. It wasn't until David Morris showed up at a random show and got interviewed that we'd find out that it was difference of opinion between Gary Cook and David Morris on how Equalizer should be driven that led to the parting of ways. However, that's not where the drama ends. You see, because later in the 1990 season, David Morris would show up to drive the No Problem truck that was usually driven by owner John Moore. And unfortunately for David Morris, he would have lots of problems driving this truck.
The driver who took Equalizer to the world title in 1989 climbs aboard No Problem.
Well, thanks, Guy. We are standing trackside with the new team concept for the No Problem monster truck. John Moore, tell me about this new team idea.
Well, I decided to step back a little bit, put a younger driver in, and see if we can do a little better in this point series.
Let me bounce over here to the younger driver. It's going to be a young man that you're familiar with, David Morris, back in the saddle again. How does it feel?
It feels great to be driving a monster truck again. John, he's going to give me an opportunity to drive his truck, and I'm going to see if I can do the best I can with it.
Well, John and Heidi Moore have always had a good running truck. You know he's going to put a good truck underneath it. What about your confidence as a driver since you've been out for about 9 months now?
The truck's going to be a lot different from what I've been used to driving, probably, as far as everything goes, but I'm going to go out and try to get used to it and make some good passes and keep getting better and better.
Have they put you on any kind of pressure? You know, being a world champion, a lot of people are going to expect you to go immediately to the head of the class, and you might even do that yourself, but there's going to be a learning curve here. Are you ready to take the time it's going to take to learn how to drive this truck?
Oh, sure. It's going to be a learning process, but we'll do the best we can do.
David Morris, their former driver, is going to be driving John Moore's No Problem. How do you feel about that, him coming back on the circuit?
Well, you know, he always did a wonderful job for me, but I think he's going to find out that this truck's the best truck.
And Morris having a little trouble getting used to driving the big Ford Bronco after last year winning the world title in that super light Chevy. Just never gets it going at all, but you know, the 1989 Driver of the Year has himself a new ride. David Morris driving the No Problem truck. He'll go up against Bigfoot. John Moore with a watchful eye. Chris Chapman standing by with him.
Are you concerned about the truck?
No, I believe the truck will be all right. I don't think we've got anything to worry about the truck.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
John Moore kind of tense. Normally, he's in the driver's seat. Now he has to watch as somebody else handles his equipment. That's John Moore on the insert as Bigfoot and No Problem go to war. It's going to be all Bigfoot and John Pyatt, and in trouble is David Morris. He goes over the guardrail on the No Problem Bronco. Look at John Moore just shaking his head. Chris?
I think I'm going to have to speed the steering up a little bit for him.
Looked like he clipped that wall. Could you tell?
Yeah, he got on the rail a little bit.
Well, what do you think of that run?
He did real good. First run against anybody. He did real good. I'm real happy with it.
All right, let's be fair to David Morris, okay? That was his first run. I'm sure he'll do so much better the next day when he ran again.
The world champion driver a year ago, the driver of the year, David Morris, but now in a new truck for him, the No Problem Ford Bronco.
Last week, Morris got the Ford Bronco into the wall. Wow, there, just dominates this run. Marvin Smith, a lot of confidence there, Scott.
The following week, John Moore took back over driving duties and No Problems, and he had this to say about David's time in the driver's seat.
John, tell us about the change back in the drivers. What's going on?
Well, it was nice having off last week, but it's getting a little late in the points this year, and David felt he had a little trouble trying to steer the truck and control it. So I took the job back over again, and like I say, we're getting a little late in the points for Dave to try and come back on the truck and get used to it. We might not have a chance getting up in the 10.
Do you believe there's a possibility he could come back?
Yes, there's nothing said that Dave can't come back, and maybe if we stick it out through the winter, he might be back in 91 driving it.
David Morris drove No Problem for those two races and those two races alone. He never once returned to the No Problem truck. However, he did return as a driver of Equalizer later on in the 90s. Greg Holbrook went on to follow passions other ways in his life by opening schools in Africa and just becoming an all-around amazing person. David Morris competed in Monster Jam for a very long time, and he's regarded as a very good driver, but in this particular interest, it wasn't a good look for him. There was rumors flying around at the time that he was going to become a Bigfoot driver, but that never panned out as far as I know, because I don't ever remember David Morris driving for Bigfoot, but he is a well-regarded monster truck driver, and he would go on to drive Equalizer for many more years after this, including winning a championship in 1997 with USA Motorsports. So I guess he did get another championship. So good for David Morris, and I hope everything's going well with you, sir. When people think of wild and crazy drivers and monster trucks, most people probably think of Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger. However, before Dennis Anderson and Gravedigger were known for their wild rides, the USA1 Truck, which was one of the original monster trucks and probably one of the founding fathers of the sport, was known for flipping more than any other truck out there. In fact, the USA1 Truck flipped so much that every time it flipped, people would wonder if it would ever even return. And somehow the USA1 team of Steve Wilkey, Rod Litz, and Everett Jasmer, who is the team owner, would find a way to continuously bring this truck back against all odds. But this always made for a lot of dramatic moments because people always thought that the USA1 team would be done permanently and they would always find a way to bring the truck back. And it's in part to this never say die attitude that has made the USA1 Truck probably my favorite monster truck of all time. And it's also why it happens to be the truck that I race in BeamNG Drive and a lot of the leagues that I participate in. So let's take a look at some of the most wildest moments that USA1 brought to the TNT Motorsports Tuff Trax.
USA1 and Whiskey Business. Whiskey Business is Ken Deppy, the rookie driver from Jefferson City, Missouri. It's the Breed Boys truck out of Missouri. USA1, watch Steve Wilkey, a wild run. And there Armstrong when you say superstars, and you talked to him just a moment ago. You've got to start here with the defending national champion, Rod Litzow. Rod Litzow in Freedom Hall a year ago on this race beat Bigfoot for the national championship.
Well, the national championship was the first ever in the monster truck competition, a brand new, fast-growing motorsport. The first national champion was the Chevrolet USA1 and Rod Litzow. That was last year.
You know, Rod Litzow flipping there to win the title, and that seems to be kind of a sign of things to come, because in 1989, he has been in some of the most awesome flips and worst crashes here in Chicago into the wall.
Well, Scott, what happened in Chicago? The axle broke in the front of the truck, and the brakes won't work with the axles have gone away. Into the wall. He immediately gets together with the screw. They put the truck back together. Superficial damage, but look what happens on the very next run. He pulls up against Gary Porter. The same thing happened. He goes up, and there's a big concrete piece, and he goes right into it at the end of the track, impaling the truck. It actually pinned Litzow in the truck for quite a while. The crews were working feverishly trying to get him out.
You know, it was a situation, obviously, where a great deal of concern with the crowd in Chicago and, of course, the officials, the other drivers. And, you know, these guys aren't exactly the greatest friends in the world. They battle every week. They were able to get Rod out. But, again, he had to be taken away and waved to the crowd. He was shaken up. His neck was stiff. They took him out and checked him over. It's amazing the amount of safety built into these trucks that Rod can go through some of the things he's gone through and think, you know, basically the truck's okay. He's able to keep coming back.
But a few minutes after the interview we had with him, the EMTs sat down, were talking to him in the other room, and they started knowing his eyes were a little bit foggy. They took him to the hospital for a checkup. It was a good move. We appreciate the EMTs doing that. He did come back and compete later, but safety first on the TNT circuit.
Here we go again. Rod showing you that he would come back and, again, not be afraid to put it on the edge. In Buffalo, he goes over, again, beating Bigfoot.
He definitely high-sided the truck, and that is new. The truck is flipping due to the speed. During the interview right after the accident, he said, Army, he said they're getting much quicker, much faster, much scarier.
In the finals against David Morris's Equalizer, he would win, but at what cost? At the end of the race, keep your eyes on USA1, Army.
Litzow, pull the shot. I want you to keep an eye on the rear wheels of the truck after the last jump. See if they even touch the cars. No, he completely clears 12 cars, locks up the brakes, and once again, high-sides the truck.
But right now, Army, let's go back 1 week ago here on Tuff Trax. As violent a flip as I've ever seen in this sport, you're about to witness with Rod Litzow in USA1.
Yeah, what I'm going to call it was kind of like a sprint car flip. He didn't slow roll it to the left or the right. It just went end over end. You watch him, he took a bounce, nose over. Now, watch what happens. Just like a sprint car, front to back to top to bottom. It was violent, and a lot of floods running down there. I happened to be the first one on the scene, and believe me, it shook that young man up.
You know, this is a scene that we've seen almost as much as Dennis Anderson working under the Gravedigger, and that is a banged-up USA1 from a bad flip, and Everett Jasper, Steve Wilkey, and the gang trying to put her back together. Chris Chapman asked Rod Litzow why USA1's so anxious to run this week, and more importantly, should that banged-up truck be in competition?
Rod, I don't know about you, but I don't think I could get back in that truck and try it again tonight after what happened last week.
Well, they say after you take a bad crash like that, you got to get right back in so that you're not scared of it. And I'm not scared to get back in the truck. And, you know, Everett did a good job, got it back ready, and I'm ready to roll tonight.
Why are you going to do it?
Well, right now it's real important, the points. You know, we're coming up on points, and we have to hold where we are. We have to stay right in the point system and keep the truck and, you know, show everybody that we are capable of coming out here and doing this.
Is it safe?
Oh, yeah, the truck is safe. I'm standing right here.
Look down there to find out the clock during a football game, and Steve Wilkey has gone through that 45-second clock.
He reminds me of my drill sergeant. He's still barking orders right now. He believes he's still in this. He is. Look at this. Wilkey is pumped. He's going to be back with that USA1. That was just qualifying. Look at the bounce. This track is really weird. They're taking strange bounces and some heads-up driving by the Bigfoot driver, I might add, right there.
Yeah,
we
nice
could have had
job.
a disaster.
Yeah, John Pyatt got on the binders quick, but look at USA1 smashing through a generator. Look at him scattering that in section as he then took out the scoreboard. It's a clock, 45-second clock, that was
USA1.
Greg Holbrook will not be intimidated by this truck. He's going to make Wilkey work for it. Now Wilkey's in trouble. Wilkey's in big time trouble. He goes over.
He has sheared the axle, and both front wheels are gone from the USA1 Chevrolet.
A little bit of a fire starting on the truck, it looks like now. The crew's going over.
On goes, trying to make sure Steve Wilkey is okay down on the track.
We appreciate the Lakeside Rescue Squad for coming out right on the spot. You know, safety, it's something we're all pumped up over. The crowd can see him moving around, so he's going to be all right. But that, you know, people who ever doubt that this is a competitive motorsport, look at this. It doesn't get any tougher than this guy.
Now, obviously, he's okay. They're just trying to get him out of the truck at this point.
Yeah, he rung his bell, though. You can tell he's a little bit slow. They're going to check him out. We'll get to him as soon as we can, Scott.
Wilkey is coming up on top of the truck, and we'll let everybody see that he's okay to the roars of the crowd at Richmond International Raceway. And now he is looking at a complete wreck. Well, you talk about sticking a fork in a truck, it's done. That USA1 Chevrolet has had it for tonight, and we don't know for how long. A lot of work coming up for that truck. Wilkey right now just trying to get his senses about him and look over the damage to his truck, and I'm sure make sure he's okay. And, well, he's just jumped right in there to correct.
I was going to say he's going to work now, but he has to make that dreaded phone call we were talking about to the owner of the truck. One of these days, Scott, we're going to have to take a camera crew and follow him and make one of those calls. That could be a historic event in motorsport.
Steve, let's watch it again, Army. See if you can figure out what happened.
He goes up, everything's good, but he's kiting to the left. Okay, it's yawing to the left, and the left front wheel digs in right here and just physically pulls it out. Meanwhile, Holbrook is running hard trying to get away from him. You know something I noticed about Wilkey? He still maintained his composure, talking to everybody and getting his sponsors' decals ready for the television interview.
Steve, we finally got a chance to talk to you. First off, are you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine, Chris.
What in the world happened out there?
Well, I come out the first stack, and again, we have to run so hard to try and keep the pace with 3-year-old equipment that I come out the first stack, and the rear end kicked up on me, and I was in the hammer driving the front end around, and I was crossed up going to the second stack, so I brought it around, and when I landed between the cars in the second stack, the front end let go and wrapped back underneath me.
What was going through your mind during all that?
Damn, I gotta go home and fix it.
One of the big stories is that it's not a new truck that's here in Flemington. We've been told that there'd be a new truck. It's not. It's the old truck with a new dress, if you will.
Yeah, they just put a new dress on the old girl. They're going to try to run hard. What Wilkey's going to try to do here is mess everybody else's night up. He's going to show them USA1 Chevrolet is alive and well and is in Flemington, New Jersey.
And Chris Chapman is with Steve Wilkey.
As you'll recall, he had a violent flip in Richmond, Virginia, and we didn't think we were going to be seeing that same USA1 truck, but Steve, isn't this the same truck?
Yeah, Chris, it is. We went back to the shop and assessed the damage and assessed how much work we'd have to do to bring the new truck. We were, again, looking to go to the next event immediately. We missed a couple of events, unfortunately. And in doing that, we got enough work done where it was actually easier to put this truck back together than to try to finish the new truck and get to the next event.
Can you possibly feel safe in this truck that has been over, I know, 8 times?
Well, Chris, I do a lot of work on the truck myself, and to me it's very important. The people who work on it I trust with my life. Greg Knudsen, my metal man and top welder at the shop, I trust him again with my life. He's an ex-mud racer. He knows what it takes. He's been in this business 10 years. He's been in it as long as Everett has. So, yes, I do feel safe in the truck. If I didn't, I certainly wouldn't be here.
You would think after so many crashes, there would be no way that USA1 could possibly win an event. But you would be wrong, because in 1990 at Flemington, New Jersey, Steve Wilkey and the USA1 team shocked the world when they won the event after crashing the truck multiple times that season. But the coolest thing about this victory is that the USA1 team won in USA1 fashion, and that is crashing into something even after winning the event.
The Chevrolet of Steve Wilkey, the Monsters Fast final, ready to go, and it's showtime.
Both drivers running up over the first jump. Wilkey looks like he moved first. He's down that right lane. Scott, the winner, comes out of the main lane. Now can he stop it?
Yes, he can. No, I thought he had her stopped. And a big win it is. Boy, you talk about rebuilding confidence, about pumping up a race team that needed to be pumped back up. Steve Wilkey and USA1 left Richmond, Virginia in a shambles. They returned to TNT Racing, and they made it to the top, winning the Monster Smash Final convincingly over the Auto Value King Crutch.
Listen to the crowd. USA! USA! How about it, Scott? These New Jersey people are having a ball.
Unfortunately for the USA1 truck, old habits die hard, and even though they won the event in Flemington, New Jersey, USA1 would get back to what it's known for just a few short races later. And after all these flips, you could finally see the frustration start to take hold over driver Steve Wilkey.
Not want to be. He cannot afford to shoot himself in the foot. He's got to come back from behind. And then George the Chevrolet is not going to let him do it. He's going to push him hard out the back door. Wilkey a little bit of trouble. Wilkey in big trouble now, Scott. He's going over.
It has happened again. The USA1 truck has landed on its roof for the 9th time, ladies and gentlemen. Steve Wilkey looks like he's coming out of the truck. There's Greg Holbrook over to check on his old adversary, and Wilkey is indeed coming out of the truck on his own power. Wow, Bennett Clark checking to see if he's okay.
You know, a lot of people think monster truck racing is not real racing. You don't get any more out of any motorsport than this sport right there, and that proves it. About a $75,000 to $80,000 accident.
But amazingly, just 24 hours later, Steve Wilkey and the USA1 team were able to get the truck back together enough to be able to run in the next event. Even though they pulled back and the truck didn't run like it typically does, it just goes to show you how much dedication these guys had to keeping this truck on the track. Unfortunately for me and other USA1 fans, the USA1 truck would slowly fall into irrelevance during the 90s, only making seldom appearances in the 1990s with a bunch of different drivers, and it never really returned to the glory that it had in the 1980s and the early 1990s. But because of the truck's legacy, it'll always remain as my favorite monster truck. With the crew's never say die attitude, you can't help but love this truck for what it represented for people in the early days of monster truck racing. And if you want to see me racing USA1, consider checking out my Lately Gaming channel where I race USA1 pretty regularly. In 1990, one of the most legendary moments in monster truck history took place at Myrtle Beach, and that was the infamous King Kong crash. But what most people don't know that makes this even more tragic is that King Kong had finally found his footing and this truck was running great. This truck was starting to win races, and this snuffed it out before it ever had an opportunity to be great. But when you think about accidents in monster trucks, everybody wants to point to the incident that happened with King Kong in 1990 at Myrtle Beach. But before we get to the accident, I wanted to show you just how good this truck had gotten before this tragic crash. And I only call it tragic because of how great the truck was running. Nobody got hurt in the incident, thank God, but the truck was certainly becoming a competitor, which makes this even more sad. So here's a string of races that the King Kong truck was involved in, including a dramatic moment that took place with Carolina Crusher, where Carolina Crusher was running out of time to get to the line to race King Kong. Many people want to talk about the crash, but for me, I need to point out just how good this truck was before the accident. Ironically enough too, when King Kong had his crash, he was facing Gary Porter in Carolina Crusher, the same truck that he was racing when he crashed. Two dramatic moments featuring two trucks at the same course in two separate weekends. Now that is drama, baby.
Some time is back behind the wheel of the truck he started racing in, King Kong. His competition, the Nightlife Chevrolet, is a Wazorek, and King Kong is looking very, very good. Hold on! Steve Kane looked like he couldn't get her stopped, but he got the victory in the King Kong truck.
King Kong was one of the original monster trucks at one time ran a rear engine aircraft combination, gone to the front engine setup, but look at Steve Kane. This is the truck he learned to drive in. He's very comfortable with it. He will attack with this truck. We might see a major upset before the night's over. It's a new driver, a new philosophy, and it works. Yeah, but the story here is in the blue truck, John Payne has to get through a round. He's got to beat Kong. Kong's going to really go after him hard. The reason is, Foot's trying to close in on the national championship point lead. Not to be the case. King Kong is definitely alive and well in Bowling Green. Look at that. Steve Kane, it's almost like there's something strange going on. He feels so good in this truck. The truck handles so well. He drives Kong so much better than he ever drove the awesome Kong vehicle. Let's see what King Kong does now. Steve Kane is at home. Boy, and the office is open. Looking at that. He manhandled the Carolina Crusher.
Kong is just dominating people. Watch this. And again, remember, No Problem has run very, very strong tonight.
Yeah, John Moore, you know, that's nothing to blink at. But this kid out of Texas, man, is just, like I say, it's like it's a new driver.
Equalizer, current point leader, reigning world champ against the King Kong Ford. Watch for the light in the right-handed side of your screen. It's gone green, and that means it's showtime.
Time to shoot them balls. King Kong, how about a Kong takes the win?
If you've been with us the last couple of weeks on Tuff Trax, you have seen this truck really rejuvenated, and the old warrior, King Kong, has been as strong as anybody the last few weeks. His opponent is supposed to be this truck, the Carolina Crusher, but he is on the clock. Now, the clock in monster truck racing is a 5-minute clock. That's how much time he has to get to the line. King Kong is still waiting. There's about a minute left, and the Crusher has fired. Army's got about a minute left, and the crowd has heard the noise.
Yeah, you know, the crowd can really get involved in this. This is a good rule. You've got 5 minutes to get to the lane. One of the things I'm going to be looking for is Gary Porter is looking pretty good to make the start. The Kong truck out of Texas. This is the truck that Steve learned to drive in. Everybody's familiar with Awesome Kong, the skinny truck. However, King Kong, the truck we're going to be watching now, they brought it out of mothballs to help chase these points. This is his nest. This is his old pair of tennis shoes. He's more comfortable in this big old orange Ford than anything after. However, now he's got to get past Gary Porter and the Carolina Crusher. So it's going to go down real quick here at Myrtle Beach, Scott.
You hear the roar of the crowd as Gary Porter brings the Carolina Crusher to the starting line. Richie Schaefer will tighten him up right there and then send that light green. And it's Carolina Crusher against King Kong. Big Chevy, big Ford.
Watch for King Kong to attack. This kid drives this truck like nothing I've ever seen. He's not afraid of it. He's comfortable. There you go. See what I'm talking about? He comes right out with Porter and puts him away. Third major upset of the day in Myrtle Beach, Scott.
Indeed, but I don't know how much of an upset it is, Army, just because he's been so strong lately.
Earlier, it's like riding a rocket ship down a bowling alley. You go a little bit left or a little bit right, you're in big trouble. They come out side by side, Chevrolet and Ford.
Steve Kane, King Kong, the Carolina Crusher Chevrolet.
Scott, he's in trouble.
Look out, he's still going, trying to get it shut down.
Oh, no. Fire, we got a major problem when he entered the Myrtle Beach Speedway.
The fire is burning on the King Kong truck. It has landed on 2 police cars at the end of the track. Steve Kane apparently is not out of the truck yet as the fire is continuing to blaze.
Everybody's going down. Okay, I can see. Here comes Kane.
He is out of the truck. There's Kane right there. He's taking the helmet off.
Okay, I'm going to work my way over and see if I can catch him, Scott.
Unbelievable. And you see a few smiles. That's because the crowd sees that Kane is now out of the truck. And for, gosh, at least 30 seconds, nobody could spot him with fire all around.
It's almost weird. He's out like walking down no man's land, like nothing happened. Look at this. He's in shock, Scott.
I was afraid he was seriously injured. We couldn't find him. Nobody could see him. And you could see Steve is wanting to walk this one off. That's Nick Rossi, the owner of the Outlaw truck, with his arm around him. And
let me get over there, Scott. He's coming my way.
Man, you can see that Steve is just wanting right now to take a deep breather as Army gets over to talk with Steve Kane after, I don't know, that's the most terrifying run I've ever seen in monster truck racing. Here comes to you, Army, Steve Kane.
First of all, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine, Army.
You have any idea what happened?
When I come over that second set of cars, it got really squirrely on me, and it looked to me like I was going to hit for that wall, so I was trying to compensate for it when I was, before I hit the ground, turn the wheel a little bit. And I think I turned the wheel just a little bit too much, and, when she hit the ground, that front end really hooked up, and
it looked to me like when you turn the wheel, the right front hit the ground, but at that time, the left front wheel was up on the rail. Is that what could have thrown you over this thing? When you got the left wheel onto the rail, it looked like you're really in trouble.
Yeah, I think that's, I really don't know. Everything was happening so fast, I'd have to look at the video, but I'd say that'd be about right. That front tire hit that rail and everything.
Well, we've been talking in the sport about how you drivers have to do something that's almost unnatural. That is, when you get in trouble, you have to gas the engine. That's exactly what you did. I cannot think of anything you could have done different to get out of that situation.
Well, I don't know. I seen that sign coming up, and all I was trying to do was get it turned back over on its wheels, but nothing worked,
I'm glad you're okay. We'll see you next week.
We'll see.
I tell you, Scott.
Army, he's shook.
Yeah, he's in shock right now.
Leading up to that crash, lots of drivers had complained about how tight that course was, and it was only a matter of time until a truck went out of control like that. Unfortunately for Steve Kane and King Kong, it ended their glorious run where they were thriving with that truck, and I think that Steve Kane was mad for two reasons. One, he was mad that it happened, and two, he was mad because he finally had a truck that was competing with everybody and winning, and now he just ruined it. But there was really nothing you can do. I mean, monster truck racing can be like that sometimes, and that's why it landed at number 2 on our most dramatic moments in Tuff Trax history. Sadly, we'll all be wondering how well that truck would have ran against Bigfoot 8 and some of the other trucks going forward if he had not totaled it. As the 1990 Tuff Trax season came to a close, it came down to 2 trucks, Gary Cook's Equalizer and Bob Chandler's Bigfoot. Bigfoot driven by Andy Brass, Equalizer driven by young Greg Holbrook. This all came to a dramatic head in Louisville's Freedom Hall, where in 1988, USA1 had a dramatic final against Bigfoot and eked out a win. Whatever truck won would take home the season championship. It all came down to 2 weeks of racing. If Equalizer won, he would take home the season championship. If Bigfoot won, he would take home the season championship. Unfortunately for Equalizer, Bigfoot 8 had thrived in indoor events, and it would all come to a head during a semi-final between Bigfoot and Equalizer. If you're not familiar with monster trucks, each monster truck is installed with what's called a kill box. This was instated so that officials could kill the monster truck's engine if a driver became unconscious, wasn't able to drive the truck, or the truck became so out of control that it became a risk to people. As you just saw at number 2, it happened quite often. However, these little black boxes became such a big issue when drivers started saying that these things were malfunctioning and accidentally shutting down their trucks when they weren't supposed to. So when it happens in a final, you can tell the drama is about to pop off.
What's going on with lane choice now?
I don't know. Bigfoot pushes the Equalizer the other way. Equalizer not going to make the run. Bigfoot, Andy Brass said he wasn't going to make a run hard. I didn't buy it one bit. That's one of the strongest runs of the night. But what happened to the Equalizer is a question.
2 questions. First off, we're going to find out what's wrong with the Equalizer, but the other question, mind games from Andy Brass. He forced Equalizer into the lane he had not run in tonight.
I don't believe that the truck not running is a result of that, but he made this rookie think for a minute. Andy Brass has been holding the hot hand all night long. He's been playing mind games, and he's a new national points leader.
He is, and that may be the biggest race in his quest for the world championship.
I figured, well, if I can get him this round, knock him out early, and keep on going, maybe we'll go ahead and get it to show.
Army, you might want to stay down at that part of the track. We're hearing that Equalizer thinks the kill box malfunctioned.
Okay, we're keeping an eye. The crew's going over. They're going to look at the kill box. Now, this is a safety feature. We're going to look for lights. A green light means everything's okay. A red light means there is a malfunction. TNT personnel's checking it out. Scott, I don't know.
And Mike Speller is the head check man. He is down there looking into things right now. I don't know if we can hear any of the conversation. Let's listen.
A lot of discussion going on with the track crew. Can't do anything about it.
Well, right there you heard Mike Speller say he could not do anything about it. And indeed, the win will stand for Bigfoot. Chris is caught up with Gary Cook. Chris?
I ain't never been mad at anybody beating me. That's part of the game. They beat me, fine. We'll come back and race again. But when the so-called safety equipment kills us, this is the second time it's happened to us in a major race. And you might say it cost us a point race. Nothing because of any fault of ours. The last time they said it was our truck, we replaced everything in the truck, come back to race again, and now it's done it again, and they say, no, it's our equipment.
What would you like to see done about this?
I think they ought to rerun it. If he beat us, fine, but I think they ought to rerun it.
Have you approached TNT officials about this?
They just shake their head and say nothing can be done.
Army, the World Championship's on the line. Should this race be rerun?
Well, the World Championship's on the line, but this is a race like any other race. Everybody puts a killer box in the same. It's a story of life, Scott. If you got 2 green lights, one on a kill box, one on a kill switch, then nothing can be redone. TNT, everybody knows. We got to wait and see. We're trying to get a hold of Mike Speller to get his comment on it, Scott.
TNT says there is not conclusive evidence that it's messed up.
Greg, I don't know if our television cameras picked up your face when you came to the end of that track earlier, but you were hot. You were saying some things to Mike Speller. What went wrong?
That's twice their killer boxes sorted out and killed me on the line this year. They hadn't checked the boxes. I bet they hadn't checked nothing. The same boxes we've been running with all year. You can take and shake them and hear the part rattling inside.
Do you believe that this could very well have cost you a national championship?
Yeah, because I pulled the box out and it started right up. I was sitting there turning it over with the box in. It wouldn't start. Pulled the box out, hit it, and it started right up.
Have you addressed this with TNT officials before?
This is the second time, and I've talked about it in between races with them.
What would you like to see done? Let's just talk about next year.
They're going to have to come up with some better boxes or keep those checked between every run, whether or not they're right.
Some very bad luck for you, and I'm sorry, Greg.
Okay, thank you.
Back to the Bigfoot Equalizer controversy. Does Equalizer have evidence that, one, either the killer radio box was tripped by TNT, or two, that the killer radio box broke and malfunctioned? If either happened, the race should be rerun. Let's find out from TNT official Mike Speller.
Mike, how can you tell if a kill box has malfunctioned?
Well, I don't think that, first of all, the kill box did malfunction. It was green when he gave it to me. He said it stopped him. So I took he took the kill box out, give it to me. I looked at it, it was green. I told him to put it back in the truck and start it. It started. Then I killed it with my handheld. It turned red. So as far as I'm concerned, the kill box worked fine.
Is there any way you can tell whether or not at the time he went to that line, if it did indeed kill him?
No.
So do you think, in all fairness, you should let him come back and try it again?
No, because then I think you probably have guys, you know, that could just turn into a huge problem. That'd be an excuse that everybody'd be using. And as long as that's green when they come to me, I got to say that the box worked fine.
And Mike Speller is the man with the final word.
Bigfoot ended up beating Carolina Crusher in this event, putting him first in points, heading into the final race at Freedom Hall. Equalizer had one more shot to try to take the lead away from Bigfoot and get his back-to-back World Championship wins. But if you thought the Killbox drama ended with show number 1, you would be wrong.
The only truck that can beat him for the world title is the Equalizer Chevrolet and Greg Holbrook. Now, according to the Equalizer camp, 1 week ago here on Tuff Trax, they were robbed because of a killer radio box. With more on that story, here's Chris Chapman and team owner Gary Cook.
Thanks, Scott. The kill box may have been the culprit in last week's semifinal action. Gary, what do you think happened?
Well, when he came over the hill, the kill box killed the truck completely and, of course, put us out of competition. The truck would not restart. When he took the kill box out, the truck would start up and drive on off of the track. So I feel like, you know, we should have been allowed to rerun the run, because that's the second time the kill radio has put us out of competition, and needless to say, that caused us some hard feelings.
What do you think that did to you in the points race?
Well, it pretty well put us in a bind points-wise. You know, in this race with Foot, it's very close, and we're going to have to come back tonight and go flat out.
Speaking of tonight, do you think it's going to get down to you and Bigfoot again in the semifinal finals?
Well, it probably will if we don't have any mechanical malfunctions.
What kind of approach are you going to have? Are you going to go all out?
Just go flat out, running. We got nothing to lose. The last race, we're just going to give it everything it's got. Win it or break it.
Well, you heard it. He's going to give it all they've got. They're going to win it or break it. Let's go back to you now, Scott and Army.
Of course, just a second and a half quicker. Equalizer's time, as I mentioned a moment ago, is good enough for second fastest, but look at this. They are towing Equalizer out, pulling him out with a loader. Problems for Greg Holbrook's truck on a night that he can ill afford them. Chris Chapman is in the pits to see if she can find out what's wrong with the truck. Could it be the kill radio box?
Gary, what appears to be the problem?
I don't know. It's not the radio.
That answers that question. It's not the kill radio box, but they don't know. They're going to get in there and look.
Well, like I said, this kid knows what he has to do. The problem might just come to the truck. Let's go.
Greg, this appears to be a little bit more than a kill box problem.
Yeah, the fuel pump wasn't pumping any fuel, but the kill box, this is a new problem. The kill box still killed my truck in between the cars for no reason. I wasn't out of control and it killed my motor.
So getting the fuel pump back together, do you think it's going to help you?
Yeah, it's the only problem we have with tank. We're fixing to have it fixed just a second.
How long should this take?
We'll be out the next round. All we got to do is put it back on.
All right, Chris Chapman right in the middle of everything going on in the Equalizer pit, and I'll tell you.
The Equalizer is not a monster truck team right now. They are a hunter-killer team. They have got blood in their eyes. Let's see what the kid's going to do. Boy, close, Scott. I couldn't tell.
You know, John Moore is a Ford, and he may have put a big hammer, a big nail in the coffin of a Chevrolet for the World Championship right there. Right now, there has not been an official winner determined. Let's see if we can pick it out on the replay. Too close to call.
John Moore always runs well at Louisville. This is where they build the Ford trucks. He likes to show off for the people that manufacture them, but right now, Chevrolet.
There you see it. Equalizer by about a half a wheel length.
Boy, Holbrook won that one, but by a narrow margin.
Greg, really the best thing that could have happened to you tonight is to be up in Bigfoot's bracket so you could knock him off early. Now you can just get him in the finals.
Yeah, I'd rather be in the finals with him. It just gives a little bit while before we got to face him. Let's just get more points.
What about next year? You feel pretty confident about being able to come back?
Yeah, we're going to make a few changes on the truck. It's going to be a lot faster next year than it will be this year.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
John Morris, no problem. We'll get a shot at Bigfoot a little later. While the Equalizer's race to the starting line could be his last shot at defending the World Championship. But Army, the big story is the Equalizer. And at the starting line, Equalizer was getting ready to race the Buffalo Tremor, and something died. It can't get it fired back up.
Scott, to where we're getting, he did drop a valve. They're trying to just nurse it through. Points are so important, but he is on the proverbial clock all year long. We've heard about the clock. You've got so much time to get to the line, so much time to run. Well, every 60 seconds takes a minute away from his World Championship hopes right now. You can cut the drama in this building. Look at this. Richie Schaefer, they're watching him. They're going to give him every opportunity. We're down to 2 minutes now. Scott, I don't believe he's going to make it. I believe that Bigfoot is going to win the World Championship with the Equalizer setting dead in the water.
He's not getting anywhere. They don't seem to be making any progress at all. Gary Cook, there's the owner of the Equalizer. The crowd trying to pick him up, trying to cheer him on.
This has got to be disheartening. And some of the other guys around the truck are other monster truck drivers. Everybody's trying to help this kid. They're not against Bigfoot. They just want to see the World Championship won on the racetrack.
Boy, Gary Cook is just feverishly working, but he's down inside the final minute, and the clock is ticking away on any chance of defending the World Championship for the Equalizer. He had hoped to get it down to one race head-to-head with Bigfoot. It doesn't look like he's going to make it there.
Scott, in this sport, there's been 3 world champions after tonight. USA1 won it the first year. This truck won it the second year. He could have been the only truck to be 2 times a world champion. He's not going to do it. A blue truck will be the world champion, but what will be the name of that blue truck?
And that's almost like a surrender. You see it there from Gary Cook. He throws his hands up in the air, stick a fork in the Equalizer. He is done for this night, and it's going to be Bigfoot winning the World Championship. Kind of by default, although take nothing away from Andy Brass. He's going all out. But Andy knows he's got it wrapped up now because Equalizer is done for the night. Army, though, as he's towed off, what more can you say about the job this team has done this year? Going through all the disarray earlier in the year when David Morris quit the team in disgust. Gary Cook took a gamble. He went out, he plucked a kid out who had never driven a monster truck before, and they came within a hair of successfully defending the world title.
You know, this is almost like the day after Christmas. We've been chasing all over America all year long. Millions of people have watched these guys race. It just seems almost unfair that the World Championship should be decided by a truck that will not run.
Boy, you're so right. But in fairness to Bigfoot, he's won it on the track, and in fairness to the Equalizer, they gave it everything they had. And, you know, Gary Cook doesn't have the money of some of the operations out there, doesn't have some of the high tech going for him, but he just knows how to get in there and build a truck that goes fast. And I'll tell you, I just got to salute him on another great year.
Obviously, Bigfoot would go on to win the 1990 TNT Tuff Trax Championship, one of the most prestigious monster truck championships at that time. We'll never know whether or not the boxes actually affect the Equalizer or not, but Equalizer dying on the line but still being able to run certain passes is really good. He was only about 0.02 of a second off from Bigfoot, so it would have made for great racing. So we as fans were deprived of a great race, but it just goes to show you how amazing the drama was in the 1990 TNT Tuff Trax series. And in my opinion, 1990 TNT Tuff Trax was probably one of the best years for monster truck racing in the history of monster trucks. With that said, that's going to wrap up this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed this look back at 1990s drama around the TNT Tuff Trax 1990 series. And make sure you hit subscribe or hit that bell notification, because in my next video, I'm going to talk to a few guys who are making this era of monster trucks something that everyone can enjoy from their own home computer. With that said, peace out and be good.